This week on Unapologetic Uplift.
I'm letting myself be cringe. Life is suffering. Life is hard.
No, fuck that.
You've made friends with the hardship.
I am not going to pretend I want to be around you. I'm not going to pretend to like you. You don't owe them.
That's a superpower for this reason.
Stop trying to explain yourself.
Get ready to rise above the noise and unlock your true potential. Welcome to Unapologetic Uplift, the podcast that's all about keeping it real and helping you live your best life. Buckle up. Get ready to learn, grow, and evolve with us on Unapologetic Uplift. New episodes released weekly.
Welcome to Unapologetic Uplift. I'm your host, Kim Staples, joined by my beautiful co-host, Ianthe Mauro, the one and only. And I feel like we haven't seen each other. We just took 2 weeks off. I'm just so happy to be back here in the studio with you, my friend. I missed you so much.
Me too. And I'm going to set an intention. I'm going to light a candle first for us and get this going. We are so excited to be together. I'm so glad for everyone that's tuning in. So the intention that I'm setting right now is that we do not self-edit, that whatever comes through us today is meant for the ears that it's meant for. And if it's not meant for you, by the way, anyone listening, let it go. We love you.
Yes, bitch. So it is.
So it is. Oh boy. Yeah, I've missed you.
That. I've missed you too. How have you been?
Oh, wow. That's a big question because I'm not that fine. I've been really good on a deep level. Here's why. My kids came to visit. My kids are grown. My daughter's almost 23. My son is 25. My mom also came. She's almost 82. And they were with me for a week. And the reason I say I'm so great is that there was this shift in our relationship that occurred where they showed up and I stopped that maternal, that mom energy of I've got to check on them in a certain way and make sure that I'm showing them this certain side, this sort of parenting thing that's on top of who I am was just gone. I'm like, hi, guess what? You get to meet me as human being to human being, as grown up to grown up, really for the first time. And I didn't mean it to go that way. It's just what worked. And I know it's because of the work that I do with you, Kim, of what we do together when you lead tapping and you help with nervous system, relaxing, integrating who we really are, being unapologetic, everything that we do and all the conversations we're having on this podcast have led me to this moment of I'm letting myself be cringe because I know that when I feel like it's a little cringe, I'm being authentic. I'm not self-editing and I'm allowed. So I'm saying that I'm great because my kids saw it. So not only did it happen, but I had this beautiful reflection. My son, actually, we had this conversation where both of us ended up in tears over something where I apologized. And this is thanks. Hey, back to the podcast, Jayla, the self-esteem queen episode where she said that her biggest parenting tip is to apologize often. And that's been really ringing in my ears ever since. Thank you, Jayla, so much. And I found myself apologizing to both my kids just out of the blue and not that kind of apology where it's like, there's a cloying, like, I'm so sorry. You have to forgive me. And there wasn't attached to that. There was no outcome attachment. It was simply owning some mistakes that I'd made and some ways that I was witnessed to hurting them. And of course, didn't mean to.
Of course.
So the next time someone asks you, like Kim just did of me, how are you? I hope that you answer for real. Let's just get rid of this. I'm fine. And unless it's someone that you just don't want to be in communication with, don't want to be in relationship with. But when it's someone you care about and love, like I love and care about you, Kim, and you ask me, how am I have to answer you for real.
And I want and expect nothing less.
So of
That's
course
exactly
I'm going
what
to
I
ask.
want.
Yeah. So how are you? So how are you, Kim?
I'm great, but just before we dive into me, I just want to honor and celebrate you being real with our kids is not easy. I don't know about you, but I don't really care too much about what other people think, except for my kids. I care very much what my kids think, and I want to impress them, and I want to set a good example for them, and I want them to look up to me. And it can be really scary to be real with them. So kudos to you for doing that, because I know it isn't easy. And also, it's important because we are leading by example, and we want nothing more than for our children to be able to be who it is they are and to be authentic and genuine. And when we lead like that, it is just an open invitation for them to do the same. So that's so beautiful.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah, and I'm just the biggest fan of my kids, and it's so nice to be in this stage, to love them so much for real, even if I wasn't their mom, just to be like, oh, I would choose to spend time with these two people over most
Right.
people. So it's so great. So how are you for real? How are you, Kim?
Oh, I am just coming out the other end of yet another massive rebirth. So I had a couple weeks of feeling like crap. My energy was really, really low. Lots of rest, lots of healing, lots of meditation, lots of learning. So I'm happy to report I'm coming out the other side of that. Lots of self-reflection, all the things. It never ends. This morning in my meditation, I was reflecting on the slow burn that it is to follow your soul's purpose. Following the breadcrumbs. I know we've talked about this many times before, but it just never ceases to amaze me how every synchronicity, how the universe lines things up and makes things happen for us. And sometimes those things are really challenging and really hard. I was reflecting on this journey that I've been on over the past 4 years, really following my purpose. And it's been tumultuous and hard. And at times I'm like, want to pull my hair out. But then there are times where I can just look back and be like, okay, everything makes sense. Everything happened for a reason. The universe always has our back, and things are happening for us, not to us.
Oh, and I wrote down, I love when you said the slow burn to following your soul's purpose. That is so cool. And the other thing you reminded me of when you were saying all that, and I'm so excited for you to be able to be your friend during this time and witness you going through these up levels, and then the way that you're able to share them, or not even able, you make sure that you share your process because you know the value it is for other people to witness. So you have this beautiful way of vulnerably sharing. And you've expressed to me before that I wish more people would vulnerably share, like when you create groups and stuff, and then you're finding like, why am I the only one what is this? And I think we have to model more and more. And hopefully we do that on this podcast. I know that we have every episode modeled what it is to be vulnerably sharing, and our guests, our amazing guests, do the same. But it's really a gift when you do that, Kim, and I love it. And it made me think about a conversation that I had yesterday with my husband, because he said something, he made this statement. He said, life is suffering. Life is hard. And I said, then why am I always so grateful and so happy? And I said, because it's not that I disagree with you. And he said, you've made friends with the hardship. You've made friends with the challenges. And I thought about that, and I feel you do the same thing, Kim. And so the beauty is, it's not that you're not going to have challenges. It's not that days aren't going to suck and you're going to be drained and you're going to need to stay in bed. It's, what are we realizing in those moments? Is it that, oh, shoot, we've lost and we have nothing? No, it's, wow, this is definitely happening for me, not to me. I am finding a way for this challenge to make me stronger. This is helping my growth. So I welcome it. And maybe that's ridiculous optimism. I don't care. It's true for me. So do I have hard days also? Yes. And maybe if I don't talk about them enough, it's only because when what I experience as hardship isn't the same as what I see people talking about hardship is supposed to be. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it can hurt. I welcome it because I'll give you the example of the doula that I think I might have even given this example once before, but this was such a huge moment breakthrough for me in understanding how to go into pain and rather than move trying to get away from it. Yes, life is painful. Growing is painful. We literally get growing pains when our bones are growing, and everybody has that. No one can ever escape that. That's part of life. But is that bad? Why do we have to put something on that? Is that's bad? It just is. It's huge sensation towards a better, hopefully, goal of growing and understanding more and being more and more capable and having a bigger capacity to handle things because we've gone through stuff. So my doula, who comes from a Sikh background, so maybe this is a Sikh belief, I'm not sure, but she shared with me that when I was in labor, it was so unbelievably painful because I had back labor. My babies were over 100 percentile in size. Their heads were over 100 percentile, and they were not the right direction. Yes, the head was down, but the back was to the back, not back to belly. It's extremely painful for any of you who have experienced this. With no drugs at all, I was determined that this would all be natural, and whatever was meant to experience, all the ancestors that came before me had experienced it. I was not special to where I needed to get away from that. I will experience it. Give it to me. And so there I was in this unbelievable pain. And my reaction, my first response was, no, 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 make it go away. It's too much. It's too much. But as soon as I did that, as soon as I was recoiling from that pain, it got so much more unbearable. And I remember my doula saying, I want you to imagine you're in an ocean and it's very big waves, and these waves are coming, and each wave is a contraction. And she said, if you're pulling away from the wave, what happens? The wave catches up to you, it grabs you, and it takes you under, and you drown. What do you do in huge surf, in huge waves? Well, everybody that knows who's been in huge surf, you're trained that you dive in and under that wave because there's a calm under that. So you have this crazy storm going above you and this powerful, powerful wave, but you're underneath it and safe so that when you then come back up, the water's calm. So to go in, I understand this is hard because I've done it and I don't do it all the time because it's so freaking hard. But when I did in those moments, remember that. And instead of going, ow, ow, I went, oh, bring it on, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I went into it. Wow, was I powerful? Wow, was it bearable? So I don't know. That just came up in what you were describing because I feel like you're that person too. You head on, I watch you, I witness you, Kim. Something challenges you, it's smacking you in the face, and you're like, I'm right here and I am not running from this.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in that surrender. I totally agree. And when we resist, it does make it harder. When we put up that fight, taken me a long time to get to this point. It hasn't always been this way. I used to do a lot of avoiding. In fact, I spent most of my life avoiding, numbing, burying, and life was hard. I have gone through a lot in my life, and it felt for most of my life easier to avoid, to not look at it, to bury. And that's not easier. It isn't easier. I carried around this heavy emotional baggage and trauma, and it affected every single part of my life negatively. I lived with anxiety every single day. I was depressed. I was disassociated. I was not present. Yeah, is it hard to face things and feel things and to surrender? Absolutely. I will never stand here and say it's easy. We overcomplicate it, but things are so much better. Life flows when you surrender to it. And a lot of people think that if you have a positive attitude and you are willing to face the hard things, that everything's going to be honky-dory, perfect. Life is happy all the time, right? Like, oh, your life is amazing and your life is easy because you're positive and optimistic. No, it's not easy. Life is meant to ebb and flow, regardless of, you know, how positive you are. It's going to go up and it's going to go down. Now, you can fight that and make it go like this and maybe spiral, or you could just ride the ebbs and flows, surrender, and just let it be.
Yeah. And I don't know. I always wonder when things pop into my head, I just share them, and whether they are pertaining to what we're talking about or not, I don't know. So if it sounds non sequitur, I apologize. But what just popped into my head when you were just doing that and talking about that ebb and flow, and that it's not easy, even if we make it look easy. What popped into my head was how I'm not going to say I'm going to just give you an example from me. I'll try things on that I see other people do. And I used to do that so badly, so much that I didn't even know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was wearing energetically. I just knew I was trying on what they're wearing energetically and seeing how that fit. Then I would try on what they were wearing energetically and see how that fit. And the problem was they weren't my clothes, and they didn't fit me, and they didn't feel comfortable. And I think lately why I can say I'm great right now is that even though, yes, I suffer on a daily basis, there are things that can make me suffer, but I'm wearing my own fucking clothes and they fit me. So I'm suffering, but I'm in my own skin. I am definitely, I notice now when I want to fall into that, and when I do, so if I notice somebody, I'll try to give you an example. Somebody says to me, you've even said this to me, there are times when it's important to cut somebody out of your life because they're toxic. So let's just use that as an example, because we've talked about that quite a bit on the podcast. So somebody has wronged you, hurt you, been shitty to you, you catch them being duplicitous or awful. And so there is a kind of energy to wear around that, which is that they're cut off. We will stop being in communication with that person, block them, not invite them into our spaces anymore. And I've tried that on. It's never felt like my clothes, but I always want to learn, and I want to be honest that I don't always have the right clothes on, and I might pick the wrong outfit. I may need to try something else, so I'll try it. But it doesn't work for me. And this is, again, please, I want everyone listening, please find out what works for you. What is your energetic attire? Don't take what I'm saying as yours, but unless it is yours. I can't cut people off. You've watched me do this, Kim. So I wanted to try that. And every time I try, it's not real for me. So what ends up happening? So there was somebody that I was very hurt by. And I thought, am I supposed to cut them off? And what I did instead was just observe for a while. I allowed myself to step back and just watch. So I wasn't trying to get their attention. So in a way, I was cutting off. I wasn't trying to get their attention. I wasn't inviting them into my space. I wasn't checking on them. But what happened was, after a couple of months, the dust settles, they got back in touch with me. And I watched myself, because when I saw the call come through, I thought, do I let it go to voicemail? Do I answer it and call them out and say that I've been hurt and angry from a couple of months ago? I had all these things run through my head of possibilities. And one thing I also notice is that if I'm starting to create a lot of stories in my head, that's not healthy for me. I'm not being present then. So I stopped the stories. I was like, okay, stop. I'm going to answer or I'm not, and I'm going to be present. And I answered. And it was really surprising to me, because I was prepared to see, well, what does it really feel like to hear their voice now? How do I feel? Am I still hurt? Are they calling to re-hurt me and re-injure me and pour salt on the wound? Are they calling to be nice? Do they even acknowledge? Do I need to bring up? None of it happened. What I noticed was, I enjoyed the conversation, and there's a part of, not even one part, there are multiple parts of this person that I still really respect and love and want around me. And there are parts of this person that I never want around me, and I want to take a flying fucking leap. But it's complicated, and it's many, many parts. It's not one thing or the other. So for me, I don't cut people off. I don't do it. I do create massive protection all the time and space between so I can get a sense for my own protection and self-preservation, but I just can't cut people off. And I know you said you can. So this is why it's interesting to me. This is where it's like, I want to be more like Kim, but that's not wrong. It's just interesting, isn't it? Because what I found was in trying to do that, it wasn't real for me. So it didn't work. And then I was more upset. So for me, it's protection, which isn't the same necessarily as cutting completely off. But parts of me are cut completely off and protected and will never be in communication again with them. Not those parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. And I think sometimes when we think of cutting off, it's like you have to do something. It's like I have to tell this person that they are no longer my friend. And you could energetically cut somebody off or just take a step back and allow the relationship to kind of fizzle out. Or sometimes when we do put up some boundaries or energetic boundaries, people just kind of fall away.
Mm-hmm. Natural consequences, my favorite.
Yeah. I have no problem cutting people off, and I am very much intentional about the people that I surround myself with. Definitely not for everybody. With that said, I'm not just going around with a chopping block, cutting people off all the time.
No.
But if you don't make me feel good or you hurt me, chances are, unless you apologize, and I give people chances, but I just have less tolerance for people's shit, I think.
Yeah, you've called me out before saying, Ianthe, you're like way more patient than I would be with that bullshit. I don't know if that's a good thing. I can't be anything else, but I do have a lot of patience for bullshit. I don't know. And then it makes me think too, like, well, then how does everyone deal with this when it's your family, when it's blood, and we have to get along. And there are times when you have to show up and it's a family event. And so, you're going to see this family member, and there's this societal pressure that blood is thicker than water and family is over. It doesn't matter what they've done. That's all BS. You and I both know that. I just recently had it where I noticed after my dad died, okay, vulnerable share coming up, everyone. After my dad died, I noticed that my role in the family was that I was always the peacemaker, and I was always the one that would bring everyone together. And I was the one that would make sure that everyone was staying in communication. I was checking on everyone a lot. And then it was exhausting for me, of course. It wasn't sustainable. When my dad died, somehow, because there was some really bad behavior at the memorial. I mean, really bad behavior at the memorial from some family members. And I know this is a thing that happens. People lose their mind around death, and we don't have a lot of rituals around death and understanding of it. And it brings up so much fear for people, and it's so weird for people and destabilizing. And I get all that. But the bad behavior in the past, I would have looked at it and given all those excuses, and my patience would have come up, my radical patience, and I would have said all those things and then still given them another chance. What I did differently this time, and this was back in 2022, is I was like, I'm done. I tap out. If they want to be in communication with me, they know where to find me. I'm very easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be that person to check in now. There was bad behavior. And in fact, so bad, I was screaming and crying, which is so unusual for me. I mean, I was very raw. I lost my dad to a very rare cancer. He died so quickly. It was just and I was with him for his last breath, and I was there during the hospice and all of it. So I was very raw, but I started crying and yelling to my aunt, to my cousin, to my sister. And I remember my cousin calling me within minutes of that, because I disappeared to my room, and she calls and says, can we just go on a walk right now so we can hash this out? And the old me would have said, yes, let's take a walk, more because I wanted to help her know that it was complete with me and it had nothing to do with my feelings. But here's where it shifted. And I'm so grateful to my dad for allowing this to happen through him dying. I remember that call, and I said, and I was still crying, and I said, I haven't even processed what I'm going through enough to walk with you now and fix it or even go through it. I need to first figure out what is actually going on in my body. I am not ready to do that. I'm not taking a walk with you, which was that might not sound like a big deal to everybody listening. That was such a huge departure from everything I'd ever done. I've always been very protective of this cousin, more like a little sister to me, 8 years younger than me. And I was saying no to her. I'd never said no to her in my whole life. And it took me 50 years to get a no, but it was a huge change.
Wow. Good for you. I'm glad you said no.
Thanks. That was
Here's to
2022. Yeah.
saying no more often, more frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something that you mentioned was how we have to show up and be a certain way for family. So that's something that I gave up. I am at this point in my life where I'm not doing pretend relationships because we're family or because. So here's actually a breakthrough I had over the past several weeks. The holidays were really fucking hard for me because I didn't have one of my sons at Christmas. And family are saying, oh, are you going to see him? And I love my son dearly, but he's just unwell. And there are things that we need to do if we want to spend time together and be in relationship, we need to do some healing and work through some stuff. I digress. The holidays were hard. I was going through this up level. And one of the things that dawned on me was the biggest generational curse that I am breaking is not pretending, not avoiding when things are fucked up and things are not okay. In my family, historically, what has happened was there's maybe a confrontation. We maybe yell at each other or scream at each other or say how fucked up that is. And then if we don't know how to deal with it, we brush it under the carpet and let time take it away as if time heals. I fucking hate that saying, time heals all wounds. Time heals nothing. It might cause you to forget. Yeah, it might cause you to forget what happened and think that you're over it. But really what you've done is just suppressed it and repressed it and buried it, which is causing more long-term damage. Anyways, the curse that I am breaking is not allowing this to happen anymore. To not pretend things aren't fucked up, to not pretend that our relationship is in trouble, to not avoid facing things because I don't know how to deal with them or how to handle them. Do I have all the answers? No, I don't. But I am not going to pretend that everything is okay when everything is not okay. I am not going to pretend I want to be around you if I don't want to be around you. I am not going to pretend to like you because we are related. And that whole saying, blood is thicker than water, what the actual intention of this saying is, the blood from the covenant is thicker than the water from thy womb, meaning
the opposite of what we've been taught.
The opposite of what we have been taught. And that is something that I used to be told as a kid by my mother. Well, blood is thicker than water, or you have to forgive that person because they're family. You have to remain friends with that person because you've been friends with them for so long. You guys have been friends your whole lives. How are you going to just walk away from that? And this is the curse that I am breaking in my lineage. No, we don't stay friends with somebody because we've been friends with them for so long. I don't want to be friends with anybody that doesn't know what I do, that doesn't support what I do, that isn't going to be a fucking cheerleader for me. For somebody that I don't know what they do and I don't support what they do and that I don't want to be a cheerleader for. I'm glad you brought this up because to anybody listening, please know that you do not have to show up to something, to some family event that you don't want to go to because you think you have to. You do not have to be in friendship with somebody because you've been friends with them your whole life, but they treat you like shit and abuse you. I look back to my childhood, and to give you an example of how bad this was in my family, I was abused by one of my mother's friends as a child. This woman hit me as an infant. She used to babysit me. And My mom found out because I had a bruise on my butt at like 6 months old. And my mom got into confrontation with her, got in a fight with her, didn't know how to handle it, and things got brushed under the carpet. Now, my mom was doing her best and came from loads of trauma, and she loved me dearly, but she kept people in our lives that shouldn't have been there because she believed blood is thicker than water. The length of a friendship means that it doesn't mean anything. But to her, she believed that if you're friends with somebody for a long time, if you're in a relationship with somebody for a long time, there has to be some sort of loyalty there, and you forgive and move on. The same woman, this lady, I don't know, my light was just too bright for her. And she had her own wounding and would take her shit out on me. We lived in a duplex and we lived upstairs and she lived in the lower floor. And this woman just couldn't stand me. She would always talk about how annoying I was. As a little 3-year-old,
I was going to
she
say
would,
you're a baby.
yeah, as a 3-year-old, I can remember her telling me that I was fat. I can remember thinking I was fat as a 3-year-old because she would be like, oh, you're so chubby. Look at your baby fat. And all you do is whine and this and that, to the point where I would be silent around this woman because I didn't want to upset her and be attacked. But there's so much more. This went on for years and years and years. Her son abused me when he babysat me. He sexually abused me. And the same thing. We still stayed in a relationship with these people. After I said what happened, we confronted them, and I guess we didn't know how to handle it. So it got brushed under the rug. And as a child, you just normalize these things. It wasn't until I was an adult and looking back, I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then looking at all of the dysfunctional relationships that I had, which were pretty much all of my relationships, and having to dissect that and unravel. No, I am not going to ever again stay in relationship with somebody because we've been friends for a long time. I am not going to stay in relationship with somebody because we're blood related. I am not going to stay in relationship with anybody for any other reason than the fact that I love them and they make me feel good and I make them feel good. And if something comes up, something happens where somebody I love makes me not feel good, I need to have the safety in that relationship to be able to come to them and tell them, hey, this happened. It made me feel this way. And we need to be able to hash through that. And if we can't, then we can't be in relationship. Full stop.
Amen. Woo! That was so good. So good. And I wrote a couple things down and I wrote really big letters. Trauma is not an excuse. I am sorry, people. I'm over it. I am done. And the reason I say that is you brought up, you're saying, when you were talking about your mom and saying she did her best, and you saying she came from trauma and it just clearly, I was just like, yes, we can have compassion for the trauma that people have experienced, but it is not an excuse. That whole thing of hurt people is absolute bullshit, not necessary. If hurt people, they need to get some help immediately. And it's not a given because you're a great example. I'm an example. Many people, most people that have been on our podcast are examples of people who hasn't been hurt, who has not been a hurt person. We cannot go through this life unscathed. We talked about that in the beginning, right? It's hard. Life is hard. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of trauma. That is not an excuse to ever have bad behavior and perpetrate it on others. Get help immediately if you're doing that. That is not okay. The other thing is you said, we didn't know how to handle it. And I just wanted to offer that the we isn't you because you were a baby. So your family didn't, your mom didn't, your what, and I'm not making them wrong. It just is what it is.
Right.
They didn't know how to handle it. You were not protected. What's beautiful is you get to now break this generational curse, like you said. And I watch you parent and you're not allowing on your watch. Listen, on your watch, this is not happening. Your children are never, if there's somebody around your children that are not safe for them, that will happen once, if ever. It will never happen for the years, over years. It will never happen repeated on repeat, ever. Okay. And I also love that you brought up that you're not going to be in a relationship with people who just because we're supposed to, because they're family and all that BS. But you also said you want to be in a relationship with people who you love and champion you and vice versa. But then you added, and if we hurt each other, it's how we respond to that hurt and how we then can heal from it. It's not that there's a fear of walking on eggshells around Kim or I because we have these strong boundaries and we're not going to let people hurt us anymore. So you better be on your best behavior. No, you can be on your worst behavior. But if we love each other, we're going to figure it out together.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That's it. And it's also, and it's also that saying that my dear friend Sue, she says, she got this from a therapist. So she doesn't even claim that it's hers, but I always hear her voice saying it to me. And that is, there are good friends and there are old friends. And old friends aren't necessarily good friends just because they're old friends.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, so I did repeat those patterns for most of my life too, not in allowing people to be that harmful to me or to be harmful to my children. But I did repeat those patterns and staying in relationship with people because we had been friends for so long, even though our values were completely different or that they hurt me. I've had a lot of jealousy in friendships. I have a very bright light. I'm very ambitious. I trigger a lot of women, and I have since I was a child. And because of the way that I was brought up, I tolerated that and I would brush that under the carpet. I might confront them and say, that's not cool. Don't treat me that way or whatever, but still staying in the relationship and allowing that pattern to repeat. I would be cheering people on and supportive of them and their new ventures. And then if I would start something new, my friends being not supportive, just, you know what it's like. So yeah, no, fuck that. We don't tolerate people treating us like shit, abusing us, being shitty friends just because we've been friends with them since we were children or because we've been friends with them our whole lives. No.
Or they're our family.
Yeah, or that they're our family.
Which is easier said than done. And I just want to acknowledge how hard this is to actually do. It's easy for us to say, and we're practicing this all the time, Kim and I both, and we share this a lot about how hard it is with certain family members and then how we're able to not lose ourselves and really just really honor being around people who help to see our light and aren't afraid of it and don't shy away from it and want us to be even brighter than we even are. Like that's what we want more of, right? And what you focus on grows. I know that. So I would just beg anyone listening now, if you notice and you're thinking to yourself, oh, there's that person, they're my best friend since I was 4 and I can't not be in a relationship, but they always make me feel like shit. You don't have to do anything drastic, but if you're focusing on them and you're focusing on how bad it feels, why not instead choose quickly shift who is a person in my life that makes me feel so good about myself that when I'm around them, I feel elevated. I feel like I can do anything. I feel safe. I feel seen. I feel heard. I feel valued. Who is that person? And focus on them. Call them, give them a little jangle and see if they want to have a virtual or a real coffee with you. See if they want to give you a hug. Please do that because often I think we want to fix things and we want to heal things and we want to pretend that we don't know that this person is awful for us when they are. And so we stay too long because we're good people.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we feel like we have to forgive. I hear a lot of people say things like, oh, life's too short. He's my brother or she's my sister, or I had to forgive and just get past. Just somebody talking about how their spouse had an affair with a sibling. And then after so many years, they forgave the sibling because it's their sibling. And you don't owe them forgiveness because they're your sibling. And I am big on forgiveness. I forgive people that have done things to me that are terrible, terrible things to me over the years. I'm not in relationship with them though. I forgive them because the forgiveness is for
For
me, not
you.
for them. And I don't want
Exactly.
to harbor that resentment, which causes disease and all the things. And I do understand the complexities of being human. And I believe that all people are born good and that shitty things happen and shape humans, and some people end up becoming not so good over the years based on terrible things that have happened to them. So I can forgive, and I can look at what caused this person to be this way, and I can have empathy for them and say, wow, that person was dealt a really shitty hand, and I empathize, and I forgive them for what they've done. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to jump back into a relationship with that person and risk them doing it all over again. And also, we don't owe anybody forgiveness.
Yeah. And we don't have to force others to forgive us either if we've wronged them.
Right.
We want, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm so sorry, please forgive me kind of feeling. And that's not for us to decide. We can't force people
No.
to do that. And forgiveness is, I feel it's a superpower for this reason. It's not a simple, I forgive you. It takes a lot, because to truly forgive means that you're really changing your actions, and you're changing your way of being. It's not just saying the words. The words are meaningless. It's what backs it up. So you can say, I forgive you, or will you forgive me? But those are the words. Now, how is it backed up? How are you now in relationship with them? What's happening? Which is why I think it's great to let it go, so you don't have the poison of it, if it's possible to. And I don't think, listen, I'm someone that I won't forget. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guess what? I'm really good at forgiveness. I also don't forget. And I think that's the part where it's the self-preservation and the protection that comes in that we need. Because don't get it twisted that if I forgive you, I'm going to allow that behavior again, and it's going to go exactly back to where it was before. No, things have changed. You've changed it. That course, it's like somebody told me once, where if you throw a plate on the ground, and it breaks, it's never the same plate. Even if you glue it back together, it's funky, man. It's not going to be the same. There's no way. Now, can you still serve food on it? Yeah, if you really work at it, putting it together, but you can't make it not be broken. It is. And you're always going to
Yeah.
see those cracks. And that speaks to just, let's try really hard. And I do try that. This is important to me, but I really want my actions to be high enough in vibration that I don't require asking for forgiveness. I'd love to not have to. And I will make mistakes, but consciously, I don't want to just go, whatever. I want to be really consciously doing my absolute best so that I don't have to hurt people inadvertently, and certainly not on purpose.
Yeah.
I'm a serious person, right? But I also want comedy, and I want joy. And I've been lately thinking I need, like, insert fart joke here. Like, I just need it to get silly sometimes. I want you all to know I'm not always this serious. Serious conversations and people's depth of character and what drives people and how people respond and what works for people and the growth. And I love that stuff so much. I really love it. And I do balance, and I do have very funny moments. And I have this fun thing with my friend. I will say her name, my friend Amy, since we were in high school. And it came from her. She created it. She's hilarious. And she has this thing that when things are really, really tough, we just go, oh, wow. And when we do that, it has to be with that voice, and you have to do it with a little bit of a face, because what that does is it diffuses the whole seriousness and the worry. It's like, oh, wow. And it's also a reminder on a deep level of there's only so much that's within my control. So all the things that are outside, look, if it's within my control, it's not an oh well. But so much is outside of my control. And those things are all, oh, well, and natural consequences will happen and it'll be what it'll be. And what is for me will not pass me by and all that stuff. But having these moments where who makes you laugh? What movie makes you laugh? Is there a comedian that makes you laugh? Utilize those tools, and laughter is a very high vibration and it's an incredible reset and it helps your immune system. And I don't want to lose that. So, and we do actually have, speaking of that, I was sending like wildfire. I was sending this creator who makes me laugh so hard. And it's Anna P-R-Z-Y. I don't know if she's pronounced, and I apologize if it's Persy or Prezi, but she makes me laugh so much. And so I kept sending this to everybody that I love. And in the dark days of winter, and it was making everybody laugh. And they're like, send me another one. That was so good. It came at the right moment. And then I reached out. I want this to be a call to all of you. If there's someone you love on social media and you don't know them, but you find that they're helping you through dark times, let them know. You never know where that can go and how that can land. I am the queen of DMing people who don't know me, who have hundreds of thousands of followers, and saying, this spoke to my heart, leaving them a voice memo, and I will tell you that I'm going to guess 95% of the time, very high percent, they respond. So in this case, I did DM her and I said, we would love to have you. You're basically the personification of Unapologetic Uplift. We would love to have you on our podcast. So she is on our podcast. She's coming up on our podcast. We're bringing the joy. We're bringing the joy. We're bringing the silliness and the goofiness and the love and the oh, wow, and the imperfection.
Yeah, we have to be intentional about it too, right? Because it's so easy to just be so serious and to take everything so seriously. Go to the park and fucking play. Make time for play. Make time to sit and watch a comedy. Just like to do things that bring you pure, authentic joy and that aren't work. Because I find a lot of joy in my work. So it's very easy for me to catch myself saying, I do what I love all day, every day. It's like, no, go play.
It's true. I do what I love too. And we're serial entrepreneurs too, and we're creators and we're highly creative. So we're getting sparks all the time, and that's very seductive and it's yummy. And we're like, oh, I'm sparked with this idea. And I'll have people close to me say, you seem to work all the time. It's like, I don't think of it as work though. So
right.
It's feeding me. Why would I stop that? I'm getting these inspirations. There are days when I don't. Work for me, the days that I'm working is when I have to do anything regarding paperwork. I have to do something that has, if there's a form to fill out, please no. That's work. But helping people, creating candles, working with fragrances, that is not being the fairy godmother, a creative muse. That is not work to me. That is fun to me. It feeds my soul and I can do it constantly. And it doesn't matter if it's an inspiration I wake up with at 2 a.m. or if it's during the 9 to 5 hours. It doesn't matter. It just feels good.
Yeah.
And like this, I mean, we're doing a podcast right now. We're doing a podcast recording. So this is supposed to be work. This is supposed to be work. I can't imagine something more wonderful to do than to hang out with you. So here's an example right here.
I love my life.
Me too. Me too.
Mostly.
Yes. Yeah. And we have survived 100. This is a cliche, but we've survived. You have survived 100% of our hardest days. We will continue to do that. And we do love our life. And we love our life because we keep showing up and we keep improving, and we know that there's no end to this beautiful growth and opportunities in front of us. There's no end to it. We can continue to learn and grow. And it just gets better. And I watch my mom, who's almost 82 that I mentioned. She is growing every day. She's growing. She's taking on really hard challenges since losing my dad, and she's facing them beautifully. And I'm learning so much still from my mom by watching her take care of herself ridiculously unapologetically, and it doesn't make sense to most people what she does, and it doesn't matter. She doesn't need it to make sense to others. What a gift is that? Don't wait till you're 82 for that gift.
Yeah, and stop trying to explain yourself and what you're doing to people that don't get it, that don't want to get it. Just
No.
fucking do you, be you, do what lights you up inside, what makes you happy. Speaking of which, one last thing I would love to share is that I'm going to be launching my mentorship program next month. So I'm going to start promoting it. And I'm so excited. This has been one of those slow burns. I think the first time I mentioned it to you was back in September when I had the initial download for it. And I've just
For
been like,
context, that's September of 2024.
four.
Just for
Yeah.
context,
Woo.
if you're watching this sometime in the future.
Yeah. But it's really been 4 years in the making in terms of my coaching and helping and healing career. My niche has changed a zillion times. What I've been doing, helping people leave toxic relationships, to business coaching, to just so many different things. I think it's probably changed like 6 or 7 times because that's just part of that purpose when you're following your soul's purpose and figuring out things as you go and following the breadcrumbs. It's just what happens if you know, you know. So yeah, had this realization back in September that I'm here to help people learn how to heal themselves and heal others. And a big part of what I'm doing these days is helping people heal core trauma. So I have put together this mentorship program that does exactly that. We heal all of your core trauma, going through chakra by chakra. We then teach you how to connect to the divine. We, as in me.
I was going to say, who's the we? I'm hearing we again. Who have I not met on your
It's
team?
me and my higher self and my spirit guides.
All of
okay?
you are going to be
All
there for
of
this.
us.
Yay.
Yes. And yeah, just teaching you to connect with the divine and develop your psychic abilities and your spirituality in like the simplest of ways, step by step. So it's going to be a 2-part mentorship program. The first half is teaching you how to do this for yourself, how to heal yourself, how to be your own healer, how to heal all of that trauma, how to learn to tap in. And then the second half is for the people that then want to take that and do it with other people that they want to teach other people. And maybe start their own business, or maybe they just want to do it for their friends and families and pets. But I am so over the moon excited to be launching this next month. And I just wanted to throw that out there so people can have that on their radar. And feel free to ask me any questions about it.
Well, you had me at how to be your own healer. That is so brilliant. And so many people don't recognize that we are our own healers and don't want to facilitate that because they want to be in a position of authority. And what's so beautiful about you is that you're so humble, and honestly, you've been through all this unbelievable trauma and work. And I think on our very first episode, if anyone wants to go back, you do tell some of your origin story of all the different traumas that you've experienced and kind of go over that. But this is a mentorship that is not to be missed for anyone that, if you feel at all called to work with Kim. I'm so excited that you're doing this, and I'm championing you, and I can't wait to share it far and wide. And
Thank
I
you.
am just so glad that you are doing this, and so many people are going to be helped from this in the best ways.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to help people.
Yes, and keep tuning in because you're going to see funny stuff. You're going to see serious stuff. You're going to see life-changing things. You're going to see things that make you roll your eyes. But keep up with us here on Unapologetic Uplift. And please go and review us, subscribe. We're on every single platform. And we want you to be in wherever it's comfortable for you to either watch us visually, or I'm very visual. I like to watch and look at expressions and see. But also, if you're not and you're just doing something else and you want to multitask, you can have us in your ears as well on Spotify, through Apple Podcasts, etc. So I love you so much, Kim.
I love you too. And share us with a friend. We will be back next Wednesday. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Unapologetic Uplift. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share the love and tell a friend about us, and give us a review.
Please don't miss a thing. Subscribe to this podcast and explore our sponsors, Objects with Purpose, Eco Luxury Candles, and Divine Activation membership.
Objects with Purpose is more than an eco-luxury candle brand. They are time travel devices in the form of a candle. Light the 3 wicks representing past, present, and future with the validation that you are exactly where you need to be. And if you're ready to raise your level of consciousness and step into your unapologetic, unfiltered, and unbothered era, join the Divine Activation membership at cuttingties.coach/queen. With 3 tiers to choose from, you'll find the perfect fit to support your transformation.
Thank you for your listening and love. We'll see you next Wednesday on Unapologetic Uplift.
Welcome to the Divine Activation membership, a movement for women that are ready to raise their consciousness and step into their unapologetic, unfiltered, and unbothered era.
With your heart, live authentically and become the magnet for all of your soul's desire.
Grow, connect with your heart and body, release unhealthy and unhelpful thought patterns, heal old wounds, create new neural pathways, and reprogram your subconscious with high-value beliefs so you can manifest the life you're meant for.
Ready to take a break from what's holding you back? Visit cuttingties.coach and join the Divine Activation membership today. Hey, unapologetic souls. I'm Ianthe Mauro, founder of Objects with Purpose, candles that touch the soul and the body. I've released a limited edition 3-wick candle collection in 3 fragrances inspired by a time in history. The Time Travel Collection, because scent evokes memory and lighting a candle can truly transport you to your highest self. Anytime.
Ianthe's candles are truly special, clean, safe, even for the body as a solid perfume or massage oil, and smell amazing. But what truly fills her heart is empowering others to be seen in their best light.
In 2020, when the 200 stores that sold my candles across the country closed their doors, I knew it was time to give back. I started guiding others to launch their own candle companies and design candles and fragrances for other brands as a way to share light in a dark time.
So why settle for just any conventional candle? Light the 3 wicks in each Objects with Purpose candle. You're supporting handmade in California, small batch, artisanal, eco-luxury, and treating yourself to a memory-evoking evolution. Visit ianthemauro.com to discover your next favorite candle. Let the olfactory experience inspire cherished memories.